A woman finds a letter among her deceased husband's things, in which he reveals he had a son from another relationship. Upon reading it, she is shocked and does this. Lisa and James met on a sunny afternoon in the small square of their hometown, where they both used to stroll. Lisa, still very young, was studying to become a teacher, while James worked at his family's hardware store. It was during one of the local festivals that their eyes crossed for the first time. James, always kind and charismatic, approached her with a shy smile, and from that moment on, it seemed like something between them had changed forever. In the following weeks, they frequently met in the square, talking about life, dreams, and ambitions, creating bonds that quickly transformed into a deep and sincere love. The beginning of their relationship was marked by innocent and enthusiastic dates. They walked hand in hand, made plans for the future, and cherished every moment as if it were unique. James, always attentive, made a point to pamper Lisa with small gestures of affection, like flowers picked from the fields or notes discreetly left in her notebook. Lisa, in turn, admired James's dedication and character, seeing in him a man she could count on in any situation. It didn't take long for their relationship to evolve into something serious, with both sharing their lives and dreams in a way they had never experienced before. After a few years of dating, James, determined to take the next step, planned a marriage proposal that Lisa would never forget. He chose the same place where they had met, the small town square, decorating it with lights and flowers. With a trembling voice, yet full of conviction, he asked Lisa to marry him, promising eternal love and a life of companionship. Lisa, emotional, accepted without hesitation, and the moment was celebrated with friends and family who had been rooting for the couple from the start. The wedding took place shortly after, in a simple yet heartfelt ceremony. Lisa and James exchanged their vows in front of the neighborhood church, surrounded by the most important people in their lives, marking the beginning of a new phase filled with promises and expectations. Married life brought Lisa and James a peaceful routine filled with love. They set up a small home, decorated with care and affection, where every detail reflected their union. James continued to work tirelessly at the family store, while Lisa devoted herself to teaching, earning the respect of her students and the community. Together, they shared moments of joy, small daily victories, and dreams that didn't always come true, like the desire to have children. Despite their efforts and support, this dream proved impossible, and over time, they learned to accept this reality, further strengthening the bond that united them. Years went by, and life continued with its joys and challenges. However, what seemed like a perfect life began to change when James started facing health issues. The diagnosis came as a shock, a silent illness that gradually drained his vitality. Initially, James tried to hide the seriousness of the situation, maintaining his usual optimistic and strong demeanor. But the illness progressed quickly, and before long, James was forced to cut back on his activities, spending more time at home, where Lisa cared for him with unwavering dedication. The house, which had once been filled with laughter and animated conversations, began to turn into a place of worry and silence as James bravely fought against the illness. Lisa stood by James throughout the battle, supporting him in every treatment, every appointment, and every moment of weakness. Despite the pain and exhaustion, she never stopped believing in a possible recovery, even as hopes began to fade. James, even while weakened, tried to maintain his calm, and whenever he could, he comforted Lisa with a look that spoke more than any words. The days of struggle turned into weeks, and the weeks transformed into months, until James, tired and out of strength, succumbed to the illness, leaving Lisa alone. James's funeral was a moment of profound grief and sorrow for Lisa. She felt as if an essential part of herself had been ripped away. Surrounded by friends and family, Lisa could hardly grasp the loss of the man who had been her life companion. The memories of the happy moments they shared played like an endless movie in her mind, bringing a mix of nostalgia and sadness that would accompany her for a long time. The emptiness left by James was palpable, and Lisa knew that from that day forward, she would have to learn to live without the presence of the one who was, to her, the great love of her life. The days following James's death became a dense, endless fog for Lisa. The house, once full of life, now seemed just an empty and silent place, filled with memories that hurt. Lisa spent hours looking at the pictures on the wall, holding objects that belonged to James, as if being close to his things could somehow ease the pain she felt. Grief was a constant presence, every corner of the house whispered James's name, and the silence felt too heavy to bear. Lisa avoided going out, preferring to take refuge among the memories she had built alongside James. She spent her days in silent tears and moments of introspection, trying to find some solace amid the devastation. Everything in her life had changed, and she didn't know how to move forward without the man who had been by her side for so many years. Loneliness was a bitter companion, and Lisa felt that, without James, her world had lost its sparkle. On a cold, gray morning, Lisa decided to go through James's things, a task she had been postponing since the funeral. She approached his closet with a heavy heart, touching the carefully hung clothes, still carrying the scent that comforted her so much. She folded some pieces, stored others, and then, while organizing a drawer of documents, something caught her attention. Among yellowed papers and old photos, Lisa found a carefully folded letter, as if it had been kept secret. The paper was worn with age, and James's name was written on the front in a handwriting Lisa did not recognize. Curious yet hesitant, Lisa opened the letter with trembling hands. She began to read slowly, trying to understand what was before her eyes. The letter was from a woman named Melissa, and the words contained within revealed a truth Lisa never imagined existed. "Dear James," the letter began, with a desperate tone. "I don't know who else to turn to, and that's why I'm writing to you, even without knowing if you will ever read this. William misses you very much, he asks for you every day. I don't know how to explain to him that the father he knows only from photos isn't going to show up. We are going through a lot of difficulties, James. The situation is getting worse, and I no longer know what to do. William needs you. I need you. It's not fair for him to grow up not knowing who you really are. Please, James, help us. He is your son." Lisa felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. She continued reading with tears in her eyes, each sentence weighing like a stone on her chest. Melissa spoke about the hard life she led with her son, a boy named William, who was the result of a relationship James had in the past, a secret he never revealed to Lisa. Melissa described the poverty and hardships, pleading for help from James, which never came. The letter ended with a plea full of pain: "William needs a father, James. And I need help to give him a better life. Please don't abandon us." Lisa slowly closed the letter, feeling her hands tremble and grow cold. The words echoed in her mind like a nightmare. James, the man she loved with such devotion, had a son he never mentioned, a parallel life that Lisa knew nothing about. The pain she felt from losing James mixed with a suffocating anger, a sense of betrayal that left her gasping for air. Everything she believed about James was now in doubt. The dedicated and loving man she knew was also the absent father of a boy she would never get to meet. Lisa let the letter fall from her hands, unable to continue. She sat there on the cold floor of the room, staring at the crumpled paper as if it were a strange object, something that didn't belong to her reality. She didn't know what to feel: sadness, anger, compassion. It was as if all the love she had for James had been tainted by the cruel revelation of his other life. Lisa couldn't move, caught between the pain of grief and the new wound opened by the discovery. She felt betrayed, confused, and above all, lost in a sea of emotions that seemed endless. The next morning, Lisa woke up after a night of almost no sleep, her head filled with conflicting thoughts. She could barely process what she had read in the letter, but she knew she needed answers. She wouldn't be able to move on without understanding the truth. Determined, she took the address written at the end of the letter and, without a second thought, prepared to go there. She dressed simply, trying to hold herself together despite the whirlwind of emotions she felt. Before leaving, she looked at the photo of James on the nightstand, seeking some comfort that did not come. She took a deep breath and left the house. The drive to the address in the letter was long and uncomfortable. As Lisa's car approached the area where Melissa and William lived, the scenery began to change drastically. The streets, once organized and clean, gave way to narrow, neglected alleys with potholes in the pavement and trash scattered on the sidewalks. With each block, the poverty became more evident: makeshift houses with exposed bricks, many of them with zinc roofs and broken windows. Children played barefoot in the streets, and the looks of the residents reflected a toughness shaped by a hard life. When she finally found the house she was looking for, Lisa felt her heart tighten. It was a small, precarious building, with worn walls and an aged wooden door. The front yard was nothing more than a small patch of dry earth, devoid of plants or flowers, just a few old toys thrown carelessly. Lisa got out of the car and slowly walked toward the door, hesitating. She felt the weight of each step, as if a part of her resisted knowing more about the story that troubled her so much. Lisa knocked on the door, and after a few moments, a woman appeared. Melissa, the sender of the letter, looked more tired than Lisa had imagined. Her dark hair was loosely tied back, and her face, marked by time and hardship, bore an expression of surprise and distrust. Her eyes were dark and deep, as if she had seen and endured more than she should have. She wore a simple top and a worn-out skirt, which only reinforced the picture of poverty they lived in. Melissa looked at Lisa with a strange gaze, but before she could say anything, Lisa took the initiative. "My name is Lisa," she said, trying to steady her voice. I was James's wife." Melissa fell silent for a moment, studying Lisa's face. There was a mix of pain and understanding in Melissa's gaze. After a deep sigh, she opened the door a bit more and invited Lisa in with a timid gesture. The living room was small and almost devoid of everything. There was an old sofa with torn fabric, a table with chairs, and a small improvised altar in one corner with some lit candles and images of saints. The light coming through the window was weak, filtered through worn-out curtains, and the air was heavy, a mix of dust and hopelessness. Lisa felt the impact of poverty in every detail. The walls, with peeling paint, told stories of neglect and struggle. Soon, a boy appeared at the door of one of the rooms. William was small, with dark hair like James's and curious eyes. He wore a faded t-shirt and shorts, and his expression was a mix of shyness and childhood curiosity. He looked at Lisa with a puzzled air, not understanding who this strange woman was entering his home. "This is William," Melissa said, breaking the silence. "William, this is a friend." Lisa nodded, observing the boy. William seemed fragile, and there was a silent melancholy about him, as if he had learned early what it was like to live without what he desired. He said nothing, just watched from a distance, with a look that mixed distrust and hope. Melissa asked Lisa to sit down, and the two faced each other in a silence that felt heavier than any words. Finally, Melissa began to speak, as if she knew this inevitable moment had arrived. "I met James many years ago," Melissa started, her voice choked. "He was different, you know. Charismatic, kind. I was young, I didn't have much life experience. We fell in love quickly, and for a time, everything seemed perfect. But when I got pregnant with William, everything changed." Melissa paused, glancing at William as if the memories were too difficult to relive. Lisa listened intently, feeling each word hit her like a silent blow. "James got scared. He said he wasn't ready, that he had other responsibilities, and he just disappeared. He promised he would come back, that he would help somehow, but he never did. It was tough years, Lisa. I tried to do it alone. I worked wherever I could, but it was never enough. William grew up without his father, and I never knew how to explain his absence without causing more pain." Melissa looked directly at Lisa, with a mix of sadness and resignation. "I wrote that letter because I had no more options. It wasn't just about money, it was about the lack of a father, the lack of support, the loneliness of raising a child alone. I wrote because I needed him to at least recognize the son he never knew." With tear-filled eyes, Lisa listened in silence. Melissa's words were a blend of truths Lisa didn't want to hear but needed to confront. It was as if each sentence revealed a side of James she had never known, a man who made wrong choices and, by hiding his past, ended up hurting everyone around him. After a long moment of silence, Lisa stood up. "I need to go," she said, her voice trembling. "I need to think about all of this." Melissa nodded, understanding. "I understand. Thank you for coming." Lisa took one last look at William, who was still watching her from a distance. She felt a tightness in her chest, a mix of compassion and pain, but also an urgent need to leave, to breathe away from that reality so different from the one she had lived with James. She left the house feeling heavy, carrying a new pain, different from grief but equally deep. She knew that from that day on, her life would never be the same. In the days that followed her meeting with Melissa and William, Lisa isolated herself even more in her home. She thought long and hard about everything she had discovered and about the story Melissa had told. Each detail, each pain that Melissa and William faced echoed in Lisa's mind like a burden that was now hers as well. She understood that the blame for all that suffering didn't lie with Melissa, let alone with William, but with James, who, by abandoning his other family, had left a trail of pain and neglect. However, James was no longer there to face the consequences of his choices, and Lisa felt that somehow, all of this was also her responsibility. Lisa decided she needed to take action, she couldn't just turn her back on the situation. James was no longer there to fix his mistakes, but she was, and she felt she had a duty to do something. That morning, Lisa woke up with a renewed purpose and, without hesitation, began preparing to return to Melissa's house. She stopped at the market, bought a large amount of food, new clothes, and also stopped at a toy store, carefully choosing gifts she imagined William would like. She loaded her car with everything and drove to Melissa's house, determined to offer the help that James had denied. When she arrived, she knocked on the door, and upon opening it, Melissa seemed surprised to see Lisa again, even more so to see what she had brought. Lisa entered, bringing bags and boxes that filled the small living room, temporarily transforming the simple space into something more cheerful and vibrant. William, who was sitting in a corner, watched with wide eyes in surprise. "I brought some things for you," Lisa said, her voice soft but firm. "Food, clothes, and some toys for William. I know this doesn't change the past, but I want you to know that I'm here to help." Melissa was silent for a moment, unsure of what to say in the face of that unexpected gesture. Lisa continued, now looking directly at Melissa and William. "I know none of this is your fault," Lisa said, with teary eyes. "James wronged you, and I'm so sorry for everything he did. He's not here anymore to apologize, but I am. I want to apologize on his behalf for everything he failed to do. I want to help you get out of here, to have a better life." With tears in her eyes, Melissa nodded slowly, touched by Lisa's words. William, still holding one of the toys he had just received, looked at Lisa with a mix of curiosity and joy. "The first thing we're going to do," Lisa continued, "is get you out of this house. We're going to find a better place to live, where William can go to school and you, Melissa, can rebuild your life with dignity. I will help in every way I can because I know you both deserve so much more than this." In the following days, Lisa kept her promise. She found a simple house, but in a much better neighborhood, away from misery and neglect. William started attending a good school, something he had never had the chance to do, and Melissa, with Lisa's support, was able to organize herself to look for a decent job. Lisa spared no effort, she arranged for new furniture, clothes, and even tutoring lessons for William, who could now dream of a better future. Lisa also gave Melissa a considerable amount of money, enough for her to sustain herself while she got back on her feet and rebuilt her life. William quickly grew fond of Lisa, seeing her as more than just a helper. To him, Lisa was like an aunt who brought joy and security, someone who always had a smile and a word of encouragement. Lisa's visits to the new house became frequent, and over time, what began as an attempt to remedy the past transformed into a genuine friendship. Melissa, always grateful, found in Lisa a friend and confidant, someone who understood her pains and never judged her for her past choices. Lisa, in turn, found in Melissa and William a new purpose, a way to transform her pain and grief into something positive. Although she still felt the loss of James, helping Melissa and William brought renewed meaning to her life. She knew she couldn't change the past, but now she could influence the future of those James had left behind. The bond that formed between Lisa, Melissa, and William grew stronger, and together, they began to build a new story based on respect, support, and a chance for redemption. As time passed, Lisa found herself increasingly involved in the lives of Melissa and William. Sundays were reserved for family lunches, where William's laughter filled the house and brought warmth that Lisa hadn't felt in a long time. The boy was growing up happy, surrounded by the love of the two women who, in different ways, had learned to love him as he deserved. And so, from grief and betrayal, a new family was born, not built by blood, but by love, understanding, and the will to do what was right. Lisa found comfort in watching Melissa and William thrive, and in every smile from William, she saw a chance to redeem, at least in part, James's mistakes. The friendship between them grew stronger, and Lisa realized that despite everything that had happened, there was still room for forgiveness, hope, and a fresh start. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, give it a like, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. See you in the next story.